Morning traders, how you doing this morning? We are back, Trade the Pool live stream with myself, Scott, and Mitch over there. How you doing, Mitch?
Ready to keep rocking. 3-day green streak. Let's keep going. You know what time it is. It's time for Trade the Pool, of course. What up, traders out there? Let's get to the action. It's another day, of course. A lot of action, a lot of earnings getting into the market and shaking things up. There's so many plays that we can talk about today. So if you guys have an earnings stock or maybe a catalyst you see out there, maybe it's one of those penny plays you guys want to talk about, make sure you throw them up in the chat. And of course, hit that like, hit that share button. Let everybody know we're live. Let's get it started. Scott, how are we doing today?
Yeah, all good, all good. I was wondering if it was a surprise that Uber and Toyota Motors release on the same day. It's definitely, do you know what I mean? They're all driving Toyota Priuses. How come they release on the same day?
Yeah, Rivian also getting smacked also on their earnings. So that definitely weighing in. And Tesla, bad news out there. It seems like it's definitely one of those days you might need what you have on right now. Some Reborn coffee. That's that extra strong caffeine, man. Hey, pinkies up, like I always say. Well, we all need a little coffee in the morning. So you're taking a look at maybe a little bit of a smaller play here. This one's an interesting one.
Yeah, I've just got the usual small caps that are on the, the up gappers and the hot stocks. So, yeah, REBN, Reborn Coffee there, has gone into benchmark 1. And it's just shy of putting in that little pattern. I like the pattern. The pattern's the same. It hasn't quite touched that sell side, but nevertheless, that pattern is there. So I'll be looking for two things, really. The buy side on this, if we can get down to it by the open, is quite far down here, given that run up, that quick run up it had. So about $2.10, $2, somewhere like that on the buy side. So we're listening for the tape down there. Else, can it break up above this sell side liquidity pool before it does that on the open? We'll see. But we've got this bogey level in there at 375 with benchmark 2 at 438. Bearing in mind, very risky trying to short small caps on day one as they run. This is just trying to something that we try and anticipate as they do on the live. So adds a little bit of excitement to it. So whether or not we get into it is another matter. But that is REBN this morning. The other one is SLNH, doing almost a similar thing. So popped up to benchmark 2, up benchmark 1, and then to the bogey level. Wicked out of the bogey level at 377. 420, 430, 440 is sitting up there as well. Buy side pool is going to be down here. We're going to be at 280 to 275-ish on the buy side. So again, we'll look for that A to hold, show some rejection, and can the tape come with it on the backside of that liquidity pool? Else to the downside, we currently have the sell side up here at 350 to 370. So again, we look for the same thing on these every day. Which one's going to hold? Do we come to that buy side first and hold in? If we do, we're listening for the tape to push out. And then can we get a sell on if we come back to 353? Again, if it shows a lack of aggression and rejection up at these highs. If not, we let it break and let it go up to 437 and then look for it again. That's those two I've got at the moment. Trader Life, welcome. How you doing? Great, Scott. Boogie Woogie, Scott C. Ralph, all welcome today. Where you going?
All right, let's go ahead. Let's get it started. Let's start. First up, we're going to start talking a little bit about the sectors-wise, and then we'll get into some of the earnings stocks. First up, I want to definitely mention how defensive is now starting to look hot. And I think this is interesting definitely to note. And so what does this tell me? Well, that tells me to look out for value plays, right? Value plays starting to get strong. Names like Walmart, names like Procter & Gamble, Costco with a nice little move yesterday, Coca-Cola setting up. And so a lot of these names just tell me that, I need to keep an eye out for what's going on in these defensive names. Look at this play. Tobacco name, PM, Philip Morris. That looks like an interesting trend. Now starting to get hot. And another thing is the volume that's coming in on these moves. Something that I'd point to. Look at CL, Colgate Palmolive. Look at that takeoff there. So definitely some value plays out there. And one area that we've been talking about, and I feel like, I've been talking about this since last Monday. You guys can see it, utilities. Look how this has really gotten strong. And last kind of Monday, we were right around here. So now we're really starting to take that nice lift off, right? And so we need to be kind of watching to see what happens. But definitely nice little push there in utilities. XLU is one way to play this. Nextera, Energy, you've talked about NEE. This is the second day I talked about it. Yesterday, really nice day up there towards 70, now up to 72. And keep an eye out some of these utility plays. And of course, what are these plays? These are kind of the lower PEs, value plays, getting a nice little push. Utilities with a nice move there. We'll see what happens in the market in that area. And of course, we'll be watching to see what happens in the semis. They have been pulling back. So on play today, in that sector is to play against it for the industry is a semi, looking for maybe a SOX S type of play. And so SOX S already starting to get going this morning. Got a nice little lift there at 8 a.m. We'll see if this can continue strong and seeing some decline in the semiconductors. AMD, maybe a little bit of a decline there. NVIDIA, maybe getting a little bit of a pullback after getting back above 900. Could pull back here. We'll see what happens to names like this. And of course, Google was hot yesterday. That's one that I'll keep on my radar to see if this starts to make a pullback and really turns the market. But let's get to some of these earnings plays really quick. And then, of course, if you guys have any play that stands out to you, throw it up in the chat. It's good to see you all this morning. Trader Life, Scott, Boogie Woogie, and we even got R.A. Wilson from Columbus, Ohio. All right, there you go. Hey, you don't say those Ohio boys don't get after the trading game. There you guys have it. Dave G, it's good to see you this morning. Let's take a look at some of these earnings plays. There's so much on the radar. So if you guys have one that was on your radar, want to talk about it, I can definitely bring it up. First one I'll bring up is Shop. Wow, Shopify on sale today. So definitely pulling back. This is the company that I would love to get at like 55, 50 for a long-term play. So that just tells me more and more that, hey, these could be opportunities for bigger buyers to come in on pullbacks. We'll see what happens in this. Does look like it is breaking down a little bit. So in the weeklies right now, it just tells me to look for a turnaround, right? Look for some sideways action around maybe 60s or 50s, and then eventually this can come back roaring through the 70s and 80s. But for right now, doesn't look the best. It looks like it's on the pullback. They beat on EPS and beat on sales, yet taking a hit here. Rivian, we've talked about how that took a major hit, and that's continuing to go down this morning. We'll see if this can bounce back, but definitely a tough day for Rivian. Reddit. I was taking a look at this to see if it was going to finally start popping above the 50s, and look at that, guys. The earnings definitely helped it out and gave it a nice little lift. So now I'll be watching to see if we can come back into that space. Maybe we come back to like 52s, 53s, but Reddit definitely in play, starting to turn around the chart and get back above kind of that IPO day. That's always a very important look that I look for. Just like ARM did that eventually, right? Eventually it came back through the IPO day. It went above, came back, recollected in that space, and took off. So stocks like that, definitely on the radar. We'll see what happens with Reddit. And Affirm, let's do one more here. We were keeping an eye on this because it has a long-term trend line that it could continue to go, right? The earnings weren't really that bad here. Earnings beat the estimate of a loss of 43 cents. The estimate was 67-cent loss. It came in at a loss of 43 cents. Sales of 576 beat the 549 million estimate. So in this case, I'm looking to see if maybe Affirm gets some love today, starts to push past the 3650s and starts to make its way back here to 3750s. So definitely on the radar for a move back into this space and starting to push. That's going to do it for my earnings plays. Of course, we can take a look at some stocks out there. I did make a really nice trade towards the end of the day yesterday, and that was on Zeta. So Zeta giving me a good little play yesterday, giving me a nice little bounce. a nice $60 trade there towards the end. So just going to keep pushing on Zeta to see what happens. Maybe this can collapse a little bit further. A lot of plays out there that are making moves, and we'll see if we're able to tackle a trade like maybe Tesla down to 171 now. It's filling the gap, and so that tells me a little bit that maybe we could have a little bounce back. Maybe this is just a morning washout and gets bought up, but for right now, things aren't looking that great in EV. All right. Let's keep it going. Scott, what you got for me?
Let's go. Calling out TIVC in the chat. TIVC, let's take a quick look at what he's got there. I heard that on the tape once, but I haven't actually got it on the scan. Let's have a look.
Yeah.
That's what we got here. Whoa, there. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I see
the news with this one. They're saying that there's a completion of a non-invasive study demonstrating effective biological changes in autonomic, cardiac, and central nervous systems. So some health data coming in here, helping them out.
Okay, let's see what we've got there. So going back to the New York session when we saw some volume back there on the 25th, taking that session, seeing what we've got. Okay, so benchmark 1 pushed through this morning. We're back in that benchmark 1. Benchmark 2 is sitting there. We've literally just tapped into benchmark 2. So that was the New York session from back there on the 25th. That's give us that kind of volume, taking that volume and formalizing it up to see if we get a finish of the program trade at the benchmark 2. It's only an indication that it could finish. I don't know when a program trade is going to finish and when the job is done for this stock, but benchmark 2 is a pretty good idea. Even if it pulls back and goes for it again, it will pretty much double up on top. So, if we've moved from 135 to 270, it can go literally that again, another 150 on top of that. We'll see what happens with that. Let's drill down, just get that 1 minute, find where that buy side pool is. So now that's already ticked off. So if you are seeing that, oh no, I do see it on the scanner. I'm up there. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I do see it on the scanner. So if that is on everybody's scanners today, then we've kind of already got a pretty much good idea that could be the high of day on TIVC. It doesn't sound like that news is really phase 3 data confirmation or anything like that. So I'm not sure. Certainly some form of press release they've got there. But let's put the buy side on here. So again, if we can push down into this buy side and we hear some kind of volume, again, if we align with these moving averages down here, these pink ones, that would be good. Could get some buy side volume coming out here. If we do, we could try and take it back up, where the first port of call would be taking it from its lows. And if it gets all down here, we've got to drop it down to 140. We will do. But currently from where it's at, the sell side pull is going to be sitting up here around 225, 245. Round about right there. So again, if it gets there, we can look at the price action, see how hard it is going into that level. Do we see a nice rejection candle off here to get short down to the 140s, or do we first come down to the buyer targeting the sell side in the first instance, and do we leave some on to get the rip up and see if we can't double top or create new highs on this and go even higher? But we'll keep an eye on those levels as we go. Hollow was also called out this morning, but I'm not sure on that. Let's take a quick look at Hollow. Given it did go to $98, we should give it some form of respect. But no, it's still sketchy down there. Yeah, it has kind of done a pump. Just looks like a best execution play. Yeah, that's the best execution play on there, 220. That's probably done today. Not really got any interest in doing anything more than that, unless it comes back up to 210. And then you could look for a short up there at 210 on Hollow there. But looks like that's just the best execution pop. We'll keep an eye. We'll put it on the watch. All right, what else we got out there? What about the overall market? NQ. What did we do on the NQ? So bring this up on 2 hours and zoom out here. So we was creeping into this box yesterday, pushed into it quite deeply and then went sideways. And now I'm kind of heading down for this buy side. This buy side created from the low to the high. There's another one down here, a bigger one, which is the whole push from this low to this high. And that what we're touching right now is what I mentioned yesterday was the non-farm payrolls VWAP. So we'll see if that holds. That's the 2 hour. I'm guessing we spike right through that. Depending, no, we're on it. We're kind of spiked through it, and we're on it at the moment. So we'll see if we get anything. I've got the buy side liquidity below that, starting at 108.54. So I think that will be the magnet, whether or not the economic VWAP is going to have a play here before that. But we'll keep an eye on what that market's doing. So if we're getting into any of those bigger cap trades, that we're on the right side of it. Mitch, what else you got?
All right, looking around right now, I see in the chat mention of NVIDIA. So let's take a look at that setup. You're looking at potentially a short setup. That's what Scott's looking at, asking about how would you play NVIDIA to the downside and looking at a target around 855. Would you wait for a pullback to 905 before getting in? And I'll just tell you like this, Scott. It really comes down to the way that your personality is, right? Some people like to short into strength. Some people like to short into weakness, just like people like to long into strength. And some people like to long into what? Those pullbacks, the weakness, right? And so in this case, in my shoes, I always like to short into strength. Why? Because that usually gives me an ability of getting those elevator moves down. And especially when it comes to shorting, a lot of the times it's what? Stair steps up and they say elevator moves down. And so that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that stair step up, finding a level that I can, risk off of, because the truth is it's probably going to be a resistance, and above that resistance is where my risk is going to be. I'm going to look for that resistance to play as resistance, reject, and give that elevator move down. So in this case, yes, I'd look into that 905 level. So good outlook in understanding of, if you wanted to, where would that be? Yeah, I would look into that level like that, right? We could go for a down move here, maybe a cut through immediately, trap some shorts out the gates through this 890s, goes to like, all right, let's say 892s, something like that, then comes back up for that 904, 905, then rejecting there to come right back down. So levels like that is definitely what I'd be looking for. And that gives the ability of what? The rule of three to come into play. And you guys will hear me mention this countless times, and I'll draw it, right? Because that's the important thing. If you can draw them out, that's going to help you guys. So you can see here that it has that first drive, up 1, down 1, up 2, down 2, up 3, down 3, and then it could even kind of hold here and try to make that attempt back to that 905 for a breakout, as bulls will be looking for that type of action. So there's always two sides of the trade. And I think that's very important. If you can understand both sides, you can maybe find some edge in the market here. So we'll see what happens on that NVIDIA. Not a bad trade idea. Definitely will be a stock that's moving. I think one of the tells will also be AMD, as it does have a bullish setup that could push back above the 158 or could start rejecting back towards the 148 and 146. Apple also on the radar, of course, has been trying to hold this gap. Right? Can it hold the gap, or will it start to reject the gap and start to fill some of it, right? And so this is definitely on the radar today. Apple, if you start to see Apple really break down, the market could break down with it. So I'm going to continue to watch to see what happens on this. Looks like we're kind of in this symmetrical triangle, kind of wedging. I'm going to put an alert at 181. If Apple starts breaking through that 181, it could be that we're having that kind of flush down day, and we can try to find some success to the upside and looking for some semis to come down like NVIDIA and AMD. We'll see what happens there, Scott. All right, nice. Let's keep it going. And the other Scott bringing a stock in that's getting hit here. This is one that gets hated and loved. How do you feel about Intel, Scott?
How do I feel about them? Mm-hmm. I don't feel this is. I think that's the difference between me and you, Mitch. Is I don't even call these stocks by their name. Like being a short cap player is like I'm tickers. I don't like. It's like I don't marry them. I'm not even their friend. I give them their 4 letters or their 3 letters, whatever it's going to be, and that is it. So when you say Intel to me, I'm thinking Intel, iron. Yeah, it's like. I don't think anything on them. I literally just look for their previous, their pre-market sessions, their lows that they had, previous session activity, and pull them levels, and they either work or they don't. It's just I think is for me a lot less work to do. Obviously, you've got you've got a whole like graph of sector knowledge, market knowledge that you put into your work, and I just stick to the ticker that's kind of hot or was hot yesterday and isn't so hot today on the short side, and bring them in. And then once they're done, I forget them again unless they come up on the scanner. I go, oh, I used to know that one.
Hey, no worries. The short-term memory loss is actually a good thing, I think, in trading sometimes, right? We just in and out, wash and repeat, man. That's all we're trying to do here. I can't blame you for that outlook. I definitely sometimes just think about things also in the long-term macro sense. But Intel has been one of those stocks that I think it has every reason to go up in this market, yet look at the chart since April. This thing is just falling off a wagon here. So can it bounce back into some levels? Yes. But how short-lived will these bounces be? You can see here, bounce, hit, bounce, hit, bounce, hit. At some point, it's going to change that trend, but we'll see if that trend changes today. All right, let's keep going. Greg Scott, of course you're going to keep me up on that one. Mullen, of course, man. Mullen hit me yesterday. Let's see what happened to it. Just hanging out, right? Eventually, I think this one will break down, maybe back to the fives. Definitely hanging out. It's been a mover multiple days now. We'll see what happens. Yesterday, the slowdown is something that's interesting. So let's see if it starts to expand the range today. That's one that's on the watch. And someone very interesting in the chat today. Scott, I don't know if you know him, but definitely take a look at him if you haven't done so in the past. Or we got Trader Pratt here. He has been traded for Trader TV Live before in the past. He's on his own now. But Trader Pratt, it's always good to see you, my friend, bringing in
welcome,
the Reddit. The Reddit, of course. Reddit is something that's interesting. We talked about it a little bit earlier about that $50 level and how I already had this drawn. You can see it there. Created it on 5/7 yesterday. I was like, are we going to cross that 50 mark? Well, now that we crossed that 50 mark, it's definitely in play. And let's be honest, the retail crowd knows Reddit, man. So at some point, I feel like this is going to be a stock that is really in play. Today's the earnings day, so I'm going to let it try to just try to hang out here. Get back to that 52 level, especially going into, let's say, maybe Thursday or Friday. That's when I would play it. A lot of times, I like to let them shake out a little bit off their earnings. But let's see if it breaks through maybe 58 today and wants to go to 60. You never know, but Reddit on the watch.
Just take a quick look back there at Mullen is... that's what I'm seeing on Mullen here. Is it's come into this sell side liquidity, literally spiked in, give us that rejection there. 595 shorts, still looking for 490, maybe the middle port 460 of that on MULN. So we'll see what that gives us. Let's see what we've got on a smaller time frame for that. It says a pullback that we can grab, else it's just gonna go to it. What do you take? Pre-market. Let's just do pre-market here. Pre-market high to the pre-market lows. Yeah, it's almost just there. It's not enough. Just the slightest little pop on the open if it can get it to continue to the downside. Otherwise, if it breaks, what have we got? 565 and closes above, then it might want to test where it was yesterday up here at about $6. So keep an eye on that still today as well. Okay, trip. What do you got on the trip? Down. I'm going to zoom out for this one. See what we've got. So this one we're going to be taking kind of absolute lows. Let's get those sessions off of there and the signals off of there. Right. So this is two things that are going to happen here. Is the first swing out that we can look at, because the first swing is generally the one that leaves its liquidity pool there for a long time. It basically, the aggression out of the lows doesn't come back for the first one all the time. So we're going to leave that one in, and then we're also going to take this from the very lows to the first high we've got. When I don't like to cross over the price on this too much, so I keep it up here. But then this would be the pool of the whole swing up. So we do have one just below, But that is where, had I have drawn this back on the 16th of Feb, I would have been saying, oh, that's my magnet on trip. We'll leave it there. If it comes down to it, that's where I'd look for price to come into and see if we can't get some rejection. So we're definitely down all 3 levels on that. There's 3 levels top, middle and bottom of this zone. You can see it as 3 liquidity providers fighting for the lowest price that they get. But we've tapped into that. So this really is no more at this way. It can still work out of it, but it is no more in terms of a decent sized pool of liquidity down here. They've kind of used it all up. So it will either pop to just grab this little low one here, or we'll look out for it to try and work its way out of this kind of 17 area lows and push any higher. Otherwise, intraday, if we're looking to join the short, we're just going to take the pre-market high to low, and it would need a huge pop to get up there for that short. They're looking at kind of 22.5 up there on that short on trip. That's trip for you.
All right, and we'll see what happens in the smaller plays today. Of course, I know you've talked about a bunch of them, but definitely we'll keep on watch a couple others. Teva on the radar out there. It's not really too small of a name, but definitely a lot of moving on that one. Went towards 1490s. So let me show you guys that Teva. So that's an interesting name there. Definitely. Scott and I are playing tag here. But definitely we'll see what happens with this one. I used to trade this one often. I don't trade it anymore, but when I used to trade it back there like in the 7s and 8s. It has changed around the trend. A lot of times I look at the long-term trend. I'm like, okay, the long-term trend's starting to really change, and it's bunched up on the weekly here. Definitely some resistance into like the 1450s. So let's see if that starts to act as support, right? Into this area, starting to act as support, 1450s to 1430s. That's going to be the range where I'll look to see if we can find some buyers and get this back up there towards 15. Not a bad stock. Of course, drug manufacturer and healthcare hasn't been the bad area to play. We'll see if this can continue to be hot. An area I also saw yesterday, coal was starting to make a little bit of a move, now starting to decline. Oil coming down. Will oil continue to come down? Of course, we can take a look at the XLE. Let's take a look at energy overall. I'm expecting an oil to come down, but that's just maybe because I'm doing a big move coming up here and trying to get some cheap gas pump prices. So we'll see what happens there. XLE, will oil come down today? Find out, guys. Like always, a lot of stocks moving out there. If you guys have any, we can go through it. Noel coming up with a watch list. Let's take a look at one or two of these. Let's do Win. Win is one that I haven't taken a look at in a while, so I appreciate you bringing a stock that I haven't looked at. Casinos, resorts and casinos. So a lot of the times what I'll do is I'll take a peek at the stock, right? That doesn't look bad at all. Let's go on the monthly. Monthly just cleans things up, right? A lot of the times I don't look at like monthlies for overall like kind of day trades, but what I want to see is, okay, so is this stock building up for a bigger move? And it seems like it's been trying to build up for a move back above 120, but really hasn't been able to get through kind of the 110s and 120 area. Those are the two levels that I see it struggling right now. So then you can see it here, how it's the 110 really acted as resistance, 110 again, 110 again, and again. So now we're starting to see that, yes, that 110 is that pesky area where we're struggling. Let's see if we can start to get going here. You know what time it is, guys. It's time. It's time. Get after it, traders. Let's see what we can come up with today, guys. Of course, I'm going to be looking to see what I can find, but you guys let me know what trades are going on out there. And Scott, you killed those small stocks. Let's see what we can get today.
All right, we got you. Let's have a look. EMVB. Let's get away from this 2 hour and get
that reborn coffee, man. That reborn already getting a nice little lift. That REBN now to 329.
So testing that liquidity pool there, going through.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got. Not ripping on the tape right now.
SLNH also pulling back. That did a little bit of a trap move there to 3. We'll see what happens on that one. Affirm, nice rip up there and Affirm. Right out the gates. Right out the gates, Affirm with a nice little push. I'm gonna look for a pullback to 3620s, 3615s, but nice little push out the gates here for Affirm. Let's see if Upstart does the same. Yes, I'm seeing the same in Upstart and Affirm. So those are names that I can maybe look for a little bit of comeback trail. How's Shopify doing? Little spike and then a pullback. Not the worst move there. Looking around, guys. Rivian, what's up with that? Down move out the gates. Tesla, pulling back a little bit there. Just looking around, guys. If you guys see a trade, let me know out there. I'm definitely watching out there. Teva up back to 15 really quickly. So held that kind of 1450s back up there to 15 and above 15. Can look for maybe pullbacks towards the VWAP. 1470s doesn't look too bad there. And Teva, TEVA. RPTX, smaller name getting hit. And then I can take a look at how's my Zeta stock that I traded yesterday. Nice little pop out the gates today. Now up to 1550s. So maybe that gets a spike today. We'll find out.
Taking a little bit of a short on REBN. I can't not, considering, benchmark 2. It was a double top. It didn't. The close held the pull, but the higher spike through. Bit aggressive. I think I'd rather have seen a kind of flush off this little candle, and then can I come back and test the next sell side, which is actually higher above. So this one's done. This is going to be the new one sitting up here. So the textbook play right now and the open would be that we could come back and grab that. Else, I'm looking for the buy side of this most recent low to say this is the one that you've got to get through if you're going to get down to the full target of 2. Else it's just going to rip through kind of 320 and go for benchmark 2 above, in which case I'll cover just above there at about 340. Let me just get this pull in. Buy side. Yeah, so there's the test of that now. So now that's it. It's like, do we get the textbook play where this now rejects, or if it comes on the tape, that's in on the tape, or if it comes on the tape now, it's going to gun for 375, in which case I'll just get straight out. It's just 50 shares, so we'll cover it straight off. There it is. So there's the push through, 375 coming up.
Seeing some pullback out there at the gates.
On everything?
On overall market, pretty much overall market. Only sectors up right now from the open is defensive and basic material, and it's 0.2, 0.04. So pretty much everything in the red out the open.
REBN. INOD also was hitting the tape there, so that took a push up as well. So that's in and above that bogey level. So see if it can get up there for 9s on that one, 990 10s.
Yeah, that one doesn't look too bad. I like the daily chart on that one too. It's not the worst daily chart for a smaller play.
Trip pushing down, so he said couldn't hold that. It used it as more or less non-existent now. Certainly pushing through. See if it can get down to that 16, 15, 50 area. Let's get that one out of the way now.
Reddit took a real tumble out the gates, guys. It's already down. It went below that 52 level where I was looking to maybe see it get there in a day or two. Well, I did it in like first 5 minutes. So you can see, I think some traders were looking at that level. That looks like buying pressure off of that downturn. But definitely, I'm not getting in it right now. I'm just going to let it kind of play out. Reddit moving really fast out the gates. You can see here all the red. So boom, you can see that. The only sector that's up right now is communication services and utilities. So we've talked about utilities. I'm going to look at maybe Duke, Excel, those types of plays, maybe and watch today. PCG is another one. I know that everybody hates this company because of what happened in California, but hey, money's money, man. If it's on the table, sometimes we got to take it. PCG. Could maybe make a play towards 1790s, 18. All right, looking around, guys, to see what else is making a move. I'm seeing some of these smaller names pull back. Teva all the way up to 1550. So that one definitely nice move out the gates. Look at that. Boom. Big push there. Toast showing up. That means maybe PayPal or Square, but let's take a look at Toast. Of course, this does like payment services, kind of like when you see that those Square pays. Look at Toast. This is one company I actually talked about for a little bit of a long-term play early in the year. So I kind of like this play. It's already getting that nice lift. Had that kind of you could say flag here, and then now starting to catch another lift here, right? So you can see that kind of the flagging pattern. Now really starting to push. Next level to watch is really 2550s to hold on pullbacks. It just pulled back below that, now starting to get another lift. So doesn't look too bad there in Toast. Can PayPal get the lift today? Pulled back a little bit. Yesterday it was pretty hot. See if it can catch some love today.
Inod on the tape again. There we go. Inod's on the tape. So let's see if that can push its way up there to 10. That would be a momentum play there off of that red to green change on those moving averages. 3 bars only, and then it kicks in. So let's see. We've got REBM and INOD where the mob is at this morning on the small caps. Let's see. Anything else on there? SLNH, did that fade? So it's SLNH then benchmark 1. Oh, bogey level, didn't tap into sell side. Benchmark 2 up there at 430.
Long PayPal.
And we're into the buy area down here. It's into that buy zone. So listen out for SLNH on the tape.
All right, guys, I got long there, a little bit of PayPal. In a second, we'll be having none other than Tim joining us. So definitely smash the like for that, guys. We'll be having Tim on in just a second. I'll bring him on. Looking at this PayPal trade, just took it. I said, you know what? Let's take a little bit of a trade here out the gates. Let's try to get a little bit of a cushion. 50 shares long there at 65.17. Looking for the 65s overall to hold here on PayPal. I want to see this push back there towards the 65.60s. Maybe take out the 65.70s. Let's go. It's going to be like a 1 in, 1 out order. Just trying to like make some quick cash here.
What do you think on Uber, Mitch?
Uber is an interesting one. Let me take a look at the chart. I know that it had the earnings and lift was showing up on the scanners, so that tells me something, right? And it was showing up to the upside. It's pulling back. It's coming back on the day. I think a big important price level is going to be around 66.50s to see what happens there. But big push up there on Uber. Overall, I think Uber is going to be fine in the long run. At some point, they're going to have autonomous technology take over their drivers. And I think that right there will save the company. Some people think it'll destroy the company, but there's Uber coming back. Big level that it's going to be important is the hourly level. I'll show you right now on Uber really quickly. On the hourly level, you can see here the bunch up right there is where I'm focusing on. Can we get through this level? You can see how the bottom is definitely holding up. Definitely they're buying off that 64. Let's see if this can really start working its way back. All right, let's take a second here. Let's bring on none other than Tim on. What's going on? How we doing, Tim?
Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing?
Morning. All good. All good.
So yeah, I was catching a little bit of the pre-open show here. So yeah, I'm excited for today. Some of my sorry, my little tablet here with some charts is going nuts. But yeah, I'm excited for a couple things going on today. We've got ARM tonight, Robinhood tonight reporting, Beyond Meat reporting, a couple reported that I got to follow up on, and yeah, so I'm looking forward to watching those tonight. But yeah, you mentioned I saw you looking at Nvidia and Apple, I think. So I don't know if you did you look at ARM yet? I didn't see that one go by.
Yeah, we took a peek at it at least. It was definitely on the radar. I don't know how it's done out the gates, but it's definitely an interesting play.
Looks like everything kind of took a hit and is trying to catch and hold here. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
But yeah, I mean, this one is interesting. I was looking at this earlier, and it has. Let's see if I can get my chart back up on that. So yeah, they're just kind of under, actually, let me draw a different trend line here.
All right, stop set there at 64.85s there for PayPal. Down a little bit. Going to give it that 85, but other than that, I'll get out if I need to.
So, but yeah, from my standpoint, ARM is just stuck below this this trend line from a while ago, and trying to get back up in there if it can. Now this is sort of a demented layout, I'll point out, because these are the volume candles. But when you think about it, I think the increased volume sort of accelerates the timeline, so I think it kind of works. And when I do that, these things that I drew from way back here, it's just trying to get back up in here. So we'll see if it can manage, or if that's a bear flag. I mean, my general feeling is, I mean, unless they've got something in their back pocket, right? I figure all the news has been coming more from other manufacturers making use of ARM's IP, rather than ARM rolling out with something. NVIDIA's like, oh, we're making something ARM based. Apple's making something ARM based. So I'm curious. I'm excited. But another interesting thing this morning was, I guess last night, Monster energy drinks. Did you see that one?
No, I didn't see that one. I know Celsius had earnings just recently, so I always look at Celsius and Monsters.
Yep, Celsius just had earnings. I think last night actually. And then Monster has earnings coming up in a little while, but they also just they just had it a few days ago. But they also are doing a Dutch auction. And it is within the price range of, I believe it said, they're doing a $3 million stock buyback with a Dutch auction, and the price range 53 to 60 a share. And if we look here, that 57.50 level just seems like such an easy target for it to go to. Now, obviously, that means everyone else is going to be looking at it, so we'll see if that plays out. But I am leaning strongly. I'm inclined to believe that's going to perform strongly. Rather, I don't have a strong thesis on it, but my guess is that it'll be strong today. So that's an interesting.
Penny names moving around there. You're catching those, Scott?
We was just looking out for it. Trader Life posted it in there. He's looking for his 10 o'clock. $10 short. He didn't say 10 o'clock. He did say 10. No, he didn't say. He said $10, not 10 and 10. But yeah, it could well be 10 o'clock and $10 for. I know it was just on the tape they're pushing up. Tim, did you get any Disney yesterday?
I'm not sure. I was actually out sick for a couple days, so I'm not sure if I got into Disney. I think I did a little bit, but nothing serious. But it was by the time I saw they were already taking another hit, I was a little bit late to the game there. So I mean, it was a tough one. Earnings, good earnings, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, they really weren't that bad on a firm. It did take a hit right out the gates on the earnings and then came back. So that's the interesting one, right? When stocks do those first, that overreaction to the downside and then recuperates all that action. And then if anything goes to the green, that's the interesting play. Right now, it's actually pulling back to an interesting level. 36.25s for me is interesting. I'm going to look to see if I can get the 36.10s here and then maybe risk off of 35.90s. But a firm pulling back after a big push out the gates.
Yeah. A few things in the biomedical space here. So Solid Biosciences, SLDB. This is just listed as ongoing. And something glitched with my billing, so I can't dig into it to double check. But Solid Biosciences, they're working on something for Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And I guess they're waiting on or getting IND clearance, I guess investigational. But they have a fast track designation, orphan drug designation, and rare pediatric disease designation. So, I mean, the spread is pretty wide on this, and it doesn't look like, it looks pretty thin right now. But that's one I'm going to be keeping an eye on momentarily. The other thing is, let's see, Bristol Myers Squibb, BMY, where's this guy? Had some data released on melanoma.
A firm pulling back fast there. Did not get in yet, guys. I'm looking to see if it starts to bounce back.
And although NASDAQ.
NVIDIA up there. We talked about 905. There's 905 for NVIDIA. Big push.
There we go. Starting to get a little movement on indices and oil there too. I always have oil on the right just because it's such a good one to look at. And what was the other one that I was looking at here? There was another one that was interesting. Let's see. Eli Lilly, they have an Alzheimer's thing, so that's one of those that seems to always yield big disappointments. I guess they were on the PDUFA calendar. I'm not sure, again, if that, let's see, to discuss next month. So they're just, we're just waiting to see what'll happen with that. But that's another one I'm looking at. And then movers in, let's see, ones with actual news today. RNA, I'm just cross-referencing here. Their thing came in a little bit late, so I was looking. My newsletter, that is, came in a little late, so I was looking at that. But yep, RNA got breakthrough therapy designation for let's see. Yeah, for treatment of myotonic dystrophy type 1, which is a neuromuscular disease with no approved therapies. So they just got breakthrough therapy designation from the FDA, and looks like a gap up from yesterday. And what was the other ones? The other ones were all just earnings for the most part. But for everyone who loves the weed stocks, Enveric Biosciences, ENVB, non-binding term sheet to license, patents for methods of using cannabinoids combined with chemo drugs for breast cancer and other cancers. So it's not like a new drug, not a new application of it, it's just patent licensing of it. But apparently these guys are also a weed stock. So yeah, that's what I've got on my radar today.
All right, guys. Definitely seeing the Qs pop out the gates. We'll see if that can come back and continue to push. The Qs pushing up there to 439. We'll see a little bit of a pullback here. We'll find out if that can keep pushing. NVIDIA is one that's on the radar. Definitely seeing the flip today. One of those days where like everyone comes in a little bit, finally leaning to the bear side. There you get a nice little push out the gates. We'll see if this can hold, or is it a little bit of a trap to the upside.
IVP currently on the tape, sitting there at 460 in its benchmark here. Let's grab this up.
NVIDIA now to 907 here. So thinking about taking a little bit of a starter here on the short side. All right, just got a little bit there on NVIDIA, short some NVIDIA. I know that sounds crazy, right? I'm going to do 2 shares though to start, just to give myself a little bit of a work the position, and then I want to see it come down fast.
IVP there, it was on the tape into benchmark 2 at 450, breadth to 485, benchmark 2 at 558. So we'll see if we can come back off here. Go on, much better NVIDIA, Simon.
All right, just grabbed a little bit more, 2 more shares, just working the position as it starts to kind of do this kind of blow off look. 910, really, if it starts getting back above 910, I'm going to get out, but I'm starting to build it to have 907.80s now. See if I can get 908s or 909s on the next couple entries. Trying to work it up to like maybe 10 shares, 10, 15 shares. Scott, you're out for a small loss. There you go. Market is pushing too strong to the upside. I see it, Scott. I see it. I'm trying to play the reversal, but I can't blame you for that mentality.
I just feel like we're setting up for a rally and then maybe a rug pull. But
yeah, I kind of would agree with that. I have nothing wrong with that mentality.
Yeah, I was in crypto last night and stuff, and everything just kept slipping. So
not liking this PayPal, so I'm cutting the PayPal. Just take the small hit there, $13 down about $15 here. Going to focus on NVIDIA.
And I did actually take a long in ARM. Took a pretty large one and watching that closely.
Let us know a little bit about ARM. Focused on the trade, but let us know how the action's going there on ARM.
For sure.
I mean, trip off the lows off of those, off of that push down into the buy area there for me. I'm also short Inod. Trade Alive. Do you get Inod? It didn't quite reach 10, but I just got a starter on Inod as well. So TripAdvisor, I've called it by its name, Mitch. So
I gotcha. Gotcha.
What's
so
TripAdvisor up to? I think I mentioned that before, but yeah, I worked at TripAdvisor for a little while, so it's
Yeah.
Inod as well. Off that benchmark too. Trade Life, where'd you get? Oh, he did come in with a time 980 in. Yeah, nice little front run of that. Well done, good hit. Let's see what we've got. See if it comes back for that sell side.
Just added a little bit more, working that NVIDIA position. Now have 6 shares. Up 1, down 1, up 2, down 2. Could still do an up 3 test, the 909s. After that third test is when I really start to be like, okay, hammer down, hammer down.
Mitch, give it to me again. Do that up one. I was
So what I always look at, guys, is like kind of how many attempts am I getting towards this resistance? So you see how there's 2 attempts there?
all right, yeah.
So I look for like one more attempt. I'm like, I wouldn't even react when it comes to here, this 909, because I almost expect it, because it's going to make that kind of like that building of resistance, building of support. I'm looking for it to build there. And that's where I can add. Like I'm trying to short at the 909 range, 909.40s, 909.50s. I'm risking off of that 910. And so right here, I should get some more fills. There you see it. There's the fills. And so you see how there's that third resistance now?
Yeah.
Now I can use that resistance. I shouldn't see a close above that resistance, especially if this candle can close. What I like about that is it's not like it's guaranteed or anything, man. This isn't like, I always say there's nothing in trading that's 100%. But if it can help me control my emotions when I get that move right there to 909.50s, that's all it needs to do.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Psychological advantages sometimes, guys. Try to find something that you can use to give you psychological advantage, right? Once you have that and you feel confident, then you can just execute, which is the hardest part of trading, right?
And yeah, having a good analysis, and sometimes you almost want to avoid over preparing. It's more of just having that at the ready and knowing that you've looked at it. The other is the market mechanics. So I was just reminded, on the dark pool topic here, I'm looking at this chart, this IWM chart, and we've got this wick from 202.95 to 204.95, right? So that could be a late reported trade or a dark pool trade that happened before the open, so that's something where sometimes we get people confused or wondering where these things come from, and a lot of times they're just on the tape, right? You get them reported, and if you understand where that's coming from, it's not going to surprise you, and you're going to be prepared for that as well. So
all right, guys, at 903.50s, I'll take some out. I'm setting up a buy order to take some out and then leave the rest on.
Monster's just pushing down. I wonder if that's going to come down to the bottom of that $53 range. It's interesting.
Big important thing is now the Q's coming back to VWAP or something like that, or like a moving average. So I'd like to see the Q's come to like 438.75s, 438.50s. It's okay if it even bounces there, but that would get me my first profit in NVIDIA, and then we can put break even on the rest. All right, smash it up out there, guys. Guys enjoying the trading action? Let us know what stocks you guys are trading, or maybe a big mover that we're missing that we're like, how are they not talking about CRCT, man? Come on. I see Veri also showing up. I've heard of that one before. I know maybe you've heard of that one, Scott. VERI.
Very, yeah. That rings a bell.
It rings that, right? Like there's some of these names you'll start like knowing them where like a ticker just rings that bell.
Yeah, the tickers is like, yeah, I know, I kind of know we've had something on this before.
All right, let's cancel the buy for right now. We're back up to the 908, so just got to be careful on Nvidia. And the key thing is always just keep it in mind. What am I risking? What is the risk here? Always know what your outs. That's the game. This last wick, if it can close and just give me that wick, I'll feel confident for the breakdown through the 905.
Meanwhile, I am green on ARM now. Just hoping it
go.
pushes up enough to take.
I just closed Trip, Fat Finger. Sorry, Tim.
Oh, go ahead.
I just, I meant to close INOD and I closed Trip.
It happens, man. That happens.
I've got, so where do we have on INOD? Let's have a look here. It flushed. So we was short up there at, let's have a look.
Q's need to pull back here. Susie Q, where you at?
97, 997 short. Target's down at 876. So yeah, I'm out just above that that buy side pull there on INOD. Trader Life 1003.
And yeah, what I was noticing there was ARM is looking a little bit like a bear flag. It is under a trend line from before. It is pushing up, but it's I'm gonna keep a close eye on that. Monster, I did MNST. I did go in on that just to see if it now undercuts its initial opening low of the day and now can catch and push back up toward that 57.50 price target. If not, I'm gonna just step back and reassess. Maybe when it gets to the bottom of that 53 to 60 range. But so far, it looks like a nice little V right there on Monster.
So out nevertheless on Trip with just under $1 on Trip. Might have been a good call. We don't know. Just closed up above those stair steppers. So it looks like we're losing that initial momentum out of that. So now I'd just be pulling in a buy side on that to see if that's going to come in and grab some and see if we don't get any more. And if it breaks 1635-ish and closes below, then I'll know not to bother with the buy side.
All right, if I could get success like at 3390s, I wouldn't mind that outlook. And I'm looking for these kind of tech names eventually to pull back today. So maybe it's a first half hour of the day on the kind of the rip up and then traps. So success, I'm looking for that bottoming action to come in. Buyers to step up, get it back above 34 after a cut down. Let's focus on Nvidia for right now, and then I'll go back to success in a second here. Can't take your eyes too much off of Nvidia. It's like Tesla, man. Like if you like go to the bathroom, you could come back and it could be an expensive trip.
Like the one I've just closed.
Hey.
So do either of you pull commodities into your analysis at all? Especially oil, because
maybe oil.
Economic.
Yeah, just oil, Tim. I would say that's the only thing I kind of sometimes use, and I'll use like WTI to kind of look into that, right? And what I usually do is I expect like it's always like a swing game with oil. So there's like moments where everyone gets extremely bullish, then it flips back down to the bottom end of the range, then it ranges back. That's what I've noticed. Like every time I've been like, oh no, oil is just going to keep going to the upside or keep going to the downside. It always plays a range. So you got to try to find that range.
Yeah. It's so interesting because on the one hand, it acts as somewhat of a barometer of economic activity. And on the other hand, it functions as a, currency strength.
Yeah, it's
indicator.
Confusing sometimes in that sense.
I notice right now it's just sort of moving right with the indices here. Other than this strong little buy right at the 10 to 10 mark. Not a lot of volume, but just curious if you make anything of that today or. What's
No, I
what's our
think
FOMC calendar looking like anyway? Where are we at? We got
we just had the interest rate, so from now it would be the minutes probably released towards the end of the month,
so
or
that's
middle
not
of the
for a
month.
while.
CPI should be coming soon, right? When's CPI?
That's what I wrote it down. I'm just like I said, I don't even know where I put my notebook.
All right,
like
perfect,
I said, I was at
guys.
6, so I'm
Nice
catching
rejection there on Nvidia. Sorry to interrupt there, Tim.
Yeah,
I'm just going to try to hammer down on this and then start to risk off this kind of 909. So really shouldn't see like 909.50s now. That's where we got to be a little bit careful. We want to see the 906 break. If it breaks 906, that's when I want to start adding and then holding off kind of the 908.50s. Let's see if we can start to break 906 and break this kind of upward trend line. So I'm going to draw that in red to show you guys where I'm looking to see. If that starts to break, that's when I can start being a little bit more confident. That's this line right here.
I will say it's interesting that ARM is doing nicely here, and you're getting a good rejection on Nvidia. It sounds like. I'm looking at AMD just to see what it's doing. It had a push upward, and then now a little bit of a back test. But
it comes at 906. See if we can break it. Yeah, it's attempting that level. I think that's such an important level right now. It just needs to really kind of take it. So I'm not just jumping on 906. I want to see it kind of really start breaking. Close over here. Then it'll start to use that as rejecting levels. But now we got this kind of defined, right? Even the bulls past like 909.50s, they'd be like, yeah, it's going to go for that 910.
Quick look at Shopify. Shopify into its buy side pull down there. Its sell side was sitting up here, tacked into around this 76 level, so push quite deep into that. Now into its buy side. Let's see what that looks like on the lower time frame. Just working the lows at the moment. Nothing indicating too bullish yet. So the first thing I would look for. So sell side's got to buy side's got to fail for the downside to continue, obviously, which it's been doing. So I'm just looking for that first buy side that can hold. So similar thing what I'm looking for on the small caps really is like pushes down into the level. Just with this, it's on the kind of do a different thing. With this, it's on the liquidity pools versus the benchmarks that I do it on the small caps. But nevertheless, if we can hold a buy side liquidity pool and then hold the next buy side liquidity pool and push out, then we might see a little bit of upside on Shopify. Also, WCC in the chat for Let's Go. I haven't looked at this one before. Let's get this out on the 2 hour. Oh, so here we go. So a buy side at 163. Where's sell side? Sell side's going to be, well, I reckon
getting that run, guys. It's trying to
downside
run. Upside on Nvidia, trying to pop off here. I'm going to give it the 910, and it looks like a little bit of a blow off top. The key is not a close above 909 for me on this 1 minute. Keep going, Scott.
Oh, man. So the sell side on WC, we've been in there in any case. It's so close. Not to say it hasn't acknowledged it, but yeah, I'd say the magnet down there is now down at 163.40. In terms of intraday, for me, nothing to do unless we can come back to short this 178 area on WCC, and then obviously at these lows, looking to see if the current buy side it's at can hold or not, and see if you get any volume off of that buy side. So, and obviously, you know, you can see the candle reject, but it's whether or not it's got volume that's kind of key for that one as well. So it needs to really push, or you need to hear that on the tape or see that on the tape. Sorry, Mitch.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm just trying to keep everyone up to date. I know how Nvidia moves fast, so just wanted to put it out
fast
there.
Movers. I just grabbed some ENVX.
Okay.
Because that is strong out of the
Look
gate.
at that. Look at this, guys. Look at Tim's charts, man. Look at this. Look at this guy. Look at this guy.
Man. That
Look
guy
at this guy.
ADHD, is it? He can't have. Jeez, that would finish me.
Hey, what can I say? Tim's not short of charts there.
No.
Can you trade individually off each one of those as well?
I don't believe so. If I double click it, it takes me to the trading thing, but that's
Oh, that's not too
that's
bad.
my personal brokerage. It doesn't have a lot in it right now, so.
Hey, that's not a bad one. I've used it before.
But yeah, I like Mumu's chart. I like their UI a lot. It's pretty lightweight.
Yeah, exactly. That's one thing that I'd definitely say. And their mobile platform is pretty decent too.
Yeah. Anyway, but here's a little closer look at the NOVX trade. So obviously, if it can get up here a little bit, that's already a nice little push, and then we can gap fill back up to 980. What was there a catalyst for the move that it had recently, or was it just? I think it had some. Was there a CEO change or what was? I remember we were talking about it, but I think they just got hit with when the market kind of pulled back. It seemed like, if I remember correctly. I watched
The battle's on here for Nvidia. The Bulls and the Bears are battling. Rolling back up to yesterday's high. Wouldn't you know it?
Trade of life. You want it twice? You want it twice. It's coming back. It's coming off the tape. Off the tape. We've done it there. Smack into that buy side with those pink moving averages. They love that color change. And coming into the 960s again. I don't know. Maybe prefer 10. Want to see that spike above? I'd much prefer the round number than the liquidity pool right now, seeing that come back like that. But we'll keep an eye on it.
Boom, guys. There's the I'm starting to see that tech move here. Sorry to interrupt there, Scott, but look here, guys. Remember Success? Talked about like maybe a 34 cut down recovery volume coming in. Exactly what you got. Look at that. Right here. 34 cut down, volume comes in, starts to turn. Q's starting to pull back a little bit. If they take 440, that's where they catch the bears now, I feel like. So that's also the bull side. I always like to give two sides of the market, guys. Even if it runs me over, I'm going to let you know where those levels are. And that's that takeout of 440 now. If it just blows through 440, yeah, a lot of the bears will get caught today. I think we were all kind of looking for a little bit of a turn. 10 a.m. now is hit. Now let's see if that 10 a.m. turnaround starts to come in the market.
Yeah, and if you want to, like that arm trade, wow, that turned red quickly.
Yeah.
And Target, I did short Target TGT.
Okay.
They've got they had a opening, gap down. They tried to push above it, rejected. We'll see if they catch here. If you want a one-sided market ready to run over some of those bears, GameStop looks like it's resuming its wild ride here, so that's fun. And of course,
Always.
Here we go. This could be a bear
GameStop,
flag, or
man.
if they can sustain, up we go to the moon, etc.
To the moon and beyond. All right,
you're gonna have plenty of that soon, Mitch. You're gonna have plenty of that for real, man.
That'll be in the other account that I don't have on the screen. It'll just be long GameStop and long Monster. So energy drinks and GameStop is.
There you go, man. I think they go hand in hand. So the Mountain Dew game and the GameStop game. All right, there's 905s, 906 break here. This is where NVIDIA should start to break down here. So I could add here. It's not going to make too much of a difference. Maybe if I get a pop back above 906 on the bid, I'll go ahead and I'll just hit it really quickly. But other than that, I'm starting to see the breakdown. Now at this point, definitely shouldn't see that kind of break back above 910. If that does happen, it starts to squeeze some shorts. So we'll see what happens there. Did Apple break down? There it is. There she blows. Apple to the downside at 181.60s, really starting to break a little bit. So keeping an eye on some of the bigger names too, right? I always like to do that. Google was strong yesterday. Down out the gates, has been building kind of a wedge back, rejecting 171.50s above 171.60s. Let's see if that starts to turn back to the downside. I'm looking around, guys. NVIDIA back above to 906.40s. I'm going to take one more ad on that. Just took one more there. Now I've got 12 shares, nothing massive. But if it really starts to make a move, I believe it or not, I've made really good money on NVIDIA. It was 10 shares.
I'm still fighting with
90802.
REBN. Sorry, man, say that again. That was key level.
No, just 90802 is my average now. I always like to update you guys when I add, because you know how that changes things up real quick. You do a bad ad. Mullen through 6, man. The Mullinator, man. Mullen.
I'm still fighting REBN here. It looks I've been adding to this, and let's just drag this across if I can. Yeah, so initial took that position off there, and then it kind of hit into that bogey level. I do still have that level up higher at 5, but yeah, so added took the initial position here, added here at around 364. So just kind of $10 down on this right now. I was looking for a flush down to 3, but I say this is my comfort blanket here. If this fails, then I'm going to close this out, because I think it could have 440 on it. I don't particularly want it to hold the 440. So yeah, we'll see if we can get a flush off this now. VWAP's holding it up. I like it down here for 280s, $3, but we'll see how that goes.
All right, guys, just took half off there on NVIDIA. Let's go. Sound that alarm. You know what time it is. It's that money, baby. Let's keep it going. A little money rain coming in. Let's go. You guys know it. That's what I came here for. The plan was to execute on NVIDIA short. That's what we did. Here. Let's get after it. Let's see if it can continue down and give me that rain, baby. Let's go.
Every time I'm on, there's more and more animations, so that's great.
Yeah, got to, man. We got it all, man. We got it all out here. Sound that trumpet. Let's keep it going, team. Let's go.
I'm beginning to regret chasing that pop on Enovix, so I'm about to take a...
All right, guys, for the remainder 6 shares there, what we're going to do is set a stop, what I call break-even stop, right? So 908, I can even do like 908.12s to give myself the smallest amount of room here, but set that stop, let it work, and now just hands off. Now I did the hard part, which was that setup, getting in with a nice average, understanding the risk. Now it's time to let the market do the hard work for me. This is when I talk about that if you feel like you're always doing the hard work and like the market is always like against you, that's where you need to sometimes try to work on that psychology, right? The market should be working for me when I'm in the right positions, and then just letting the market do its thing, whatever that is, right? That's what I think the best way when you're in those conviction positions, you feel strong, you can just let the position work. Mullen to 630s. What a lift there on the Mullinator, man. Look at that thing. Woo. That was a big lift there, Mullen. Not a bad play today. If you guys were able to play that, man, I can't do it, man. I can't do it. Can't buy that stock to the long side at all.
I did go for it again. There it was. I didn't catch it at 965. It's just breaking that VWAP now as well. So we'll see. Yeah, I traded off. You was in that second time? Oh, I guess so. Look, she's fading. All right.
Yeah, Scott mentioning that my small size and patience is what helped me there, and I kind of agree with that 100%, Scott. So small size and patience sometimes can go a long way. And trust me, did I feel it when it was getting up there to the 910? Yes, but I just stuck to my plan. You guys, stick to your plan.
It might be small, but it still works.
Yeah, and especially when you're playing these big names, right? Like NVIDIA, Tesla. I've made a killing off Tesla on sometimes 5 shares. Like where I look back and I'm like, dude, 5 shares made me that much money. And the fun part about having like 5 shares is that the volatility doesn't freak you out. Like, you know, you don't get that like quick whip up and you're just like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Yeah. And that's where it is important, right? You want to be mindful of that. Like you don't, I mean, I think there's plenty of fun to be had in the market. So we don't need to be going out of our way to trigger those, you know, those factors of trading where it pushes the gambling buttons, right? Where you don't want to get yourself addicted to those quick moves, because that is a very hard habit to unlearn. And we've had that coming up in the Discord recently this week. You know, we always have new people trying the accounts and looking at the different packages, you know, the trade-offs, because they have different profit splits, different scaling plans, and different exposures. You know, but some of the questions are like, well, can I make any money off of a smaller account? Like, yes, you can. Like, unless you have a nice big pile of disposable money, you know, you can make quite a bit with a $2,000 notional exposure. And then similarly, people talking about passing the plan, you know, they're like, well, I have to take these large positions. I have to if I want to pass. And my experience has always been, you know, it's when you start doing that, that's when you get that risk. You know, it's more if you take it slow and steady, and then you catch some of those moves and you're like, wow, how'd that happen? But hey, it's great, you know.
1000%, man. I agree with that. And I feel like a lot of traders, when they start these new packages, the number one thing that they do to start is overtrade, and overtrade big. So like if you're doing overtrading and you're overtrading small, then it's a little different, right? Then you can look back and be like, well, yeah, I made 60 trades, but my overall account is down $20, right? And then you're like, all right, well, it's not a big deal. And this is when I always talk about, you have to know your skill level. Are you in the survival stage, the break-even stage, the just barely profitable stage, or what we all are trying to get through is to the thriving stage of trading, right? And so understand where you are in that journey. Sometimes it's okay to just say, hey, I just don't want to lose money. I just don't want to lose. I just want to be like break even consistently. Being able to stay in this game every single day and being break even actually is not a bad thing. Majority does what? Majority loses. So instead, try to be in that minority by having the right system, the right mentality of what you're going to get out of trading.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, and that can vary day to day as well, right? Like,
exactly.
I was sick last few days, right? I was eager to get in.
Yeah.
Monday, I think, went okay. I was sort of slogging through it. And yesterday, it was good. I was on the, you know, I was sort of treading water, like some up, some down, just staying basically even, and then just kind of slipped off of that and started chasing. And you know, if you're not at your best, if you're distracted, if you have life stuff, that's been a big thing for me, you know. Then if you're not at the top of your game, your mistakes are amplified and they build on each other, you know. Like, you want to be compounding gains, not compounding your losses. So, you know, it's okay to say, hey, you know what, my head is not in the game, I'm not going to trade today, or I'm just going to take just tiny positions, or whatever it is, you know, whatever makes you feel relaxed. And then the next day, you know, or what you said earlier, where you don't want to be fighting the market. You know, there's days where I might be making money, but it's just a slog. It's hard work, you know, which is fine some days. But I feel like if you feel like you're flailing, you know, that's a sign to kind of back off. And with those small, quick gains too, right? You know, like, oh, if I take profit, then what if it rips more? Or like, oh, like this small position, it made so much, I should have gone bigger. I should add on, you know, hey, there's nothing wrong with getting a quick gain, because you know what you gained? Time back in your day, right? You gain working capital that you can apply to another trade. You gain, you know, but your time is worth something and your mental energy is worth something. So don't lose sight of that.
Definitely smash the like for that, guys. In a few minutes, we'll do the You Choose, We Trade, guys. Stick around, guys. So definitely coming up. We did this yesterday, Tim, and I was able to nail a nice trade here.
Nice.
And it wasn't an easy one. The G Sun, right? You guys remember that one yesterday? Nice nailed trade, and that was given by you guys in the chat. Smash the like if you guys are enjoying today's stream. Us talking about ways that you guys can really kind of start to bend that curve, right? The learning curve. So I saw a trader in the chat even talking about struggling, right? Going through different accounts. Boogie Woogie. Well, just like the music that you listen to, right? Shake it, shake that boogie woogie, and
Yeah,
get
Boogie
going.
Woogie, scared and conscious and making money.
Yeah. So
Lately, every day she's been posting like boom, boom,
hey,
boom,
love to
gains,
see it.
gains, gains. You know.
And in small green stage, it's okay to stay in that stage, right? Like, don't think that you need to immediately go to like, oh, where I'm making Lamborghini money. The more that we have real expectations and are able to meet those expectations, the more you'll build that confidence and be able to truly believe in your skills, which allows you to do the number one thing. I'll go back to it: execution of trade. It's not really the strategy. I can give Tim a strategy. I can give Scott a strategy, right? Question is, can they execute it?
Exactly. ARM is popping. Are you still in that NVIDIA short, or how's that looking?
Yeah, man, I'm still in that NVIDIA short. It'd probably get me out here on a little bit of a pop, but I gave myself a little bit of a room, right? And what I did was I did 908 12s for the out. And if it hits me, it hits me. It's okay, guys. I'm in the green for the day. And so a lot of times some positions are just gonna like work, right? And keep working throughout the whole day. Those are a lot of times where I've learned my swing trading action, right? So on NVIDIA, let's see if it gets me out here. Boom, just triggered out. And I'm still green on the day.
I am going to just pop over to my, what may turn out to be my scratch account, because I had some, and this is where I had some just bad decisions yesterday. And
yeah,
boom, now it's in a tough spot. But right when we had that pop on everything else, GameStop, strong rejection there. So you know what that tells me? We're back to negative beta days. So this is just like old times on GameStop, you know.
All right, let's go. Let's go. You guys keep dropping in those tickers as we keep going. We'll definitely try to catch some of those. It's 10:23. Get your ideas ready, because we're gonna do the you choose, we trade it coming up. That REBN, man, we should have got that Reborn coffee this morning, Scott. That was a nice one.
I'm in short again. So yeah, added here, got in here, added there, averaged out. Like I said, it was like $20 here, and I'm like, yeah, as soon as it comes to 365, that's going to 440. So I just shorted 440. So I covered that trade there, $20 loss, and then I've just shorted 440 here. There you go, trader life and execution for you.
Just put in a couple trailing stops on ARM here to some partial trails. But it looks like I'm coming up on my first real take profit target, which is exciting.
Shorts look trapped in Mullen. Yeah, it's the Mullinator, man. That thing just keeps going. It's like a cavity, dude. Can't just get rid of it. Gotta go to the dentist to get rid of that.
So this is fascinating to me. I'm trying to tell if this is hedges being taken off or a sector rotation, right? Because we've got, so indices testing. I don't have my hotkey set to share this screen. It's annoying. Right, so we've got indices testing from below. See on SPY, we've got that gap testing the last little bit of it, the gap up. Q's right at the close there. Russell also has, okay, this is interesting too, right? Russell has a much larger gap that it could close to the upside, so there's a lot of upside potential on Russell. But I'm seeing, looks like mega caps of all sorts, right? The semis are pushing, we've got Target pushing, Amgen pushing, Disney kind of wobbly. Then
this is one of those days where it's flipping, right, Tim? It's flipping a little bit here now. It's going back to those growth names.
Yeah, but now GameStop rejecting, AMC rejecting, Enovix rejecting, Rumble rejecting. So the kind of memeier things on my list are. But
again, the non-sexy name, the Duke, starting to make a little bit of a lift there.
Well, Amgen, I can't tell if this is a rising wedge or not, but Amgen is just ripping.
Yeah.
And Carvana Carvana. This could be a catch on Carvana, and if we do have that upside and reclaim, actually, I might get in a little Carvana. That'll be a long for my other account. Small one though. Carvana's a little one that packs not even so little, but packs a big punch. So,
a man from Pubmatic on the Schwab network right now. I'm gonna have to bring him on, guys. There's one thing that I definitely have some connections with is some CEOs. So Raj Gurav right now, he's from Pubmatic. He's on right now. We need to bring him on here, have an interview. What do you guys think about things like that? Let us know in the chat if you guys would be interested in getting on CEOs and other executives on to talk about the stocks, and maybe it's just stock experts, right? Let us know what you guys think. We're always willing to make improvements to the show. So if you guys have some feedback, let us know. We'll make some improvements. We'll keep it going. We're here to bring you guys value. That's what we're all about. Carvana is starting to look interesting there too. I agree. Here's an interesting one. Airbnb had a couple of pullbacks. I know Americans on my radar. Man, if I would have held that swing, Scott, American not looking too bad, man. Since that Monday 1396 buy, that 1440 pulled back to the 1420s, starting to get stronger.
Yeah.
So the question on Mullen from Trader Life there. By the way, I love the idea of interviews. So the question, did you answer that already? I'm looking at it and I could see a short here. It's strong out of the gate, but it is weakening. So this is where I would use tools like the Heikin-Ashi candles, right? I mean, you can kind of see the same thing forming on the hold on one second here. Excuse me one second here. Right. So, and I'll just put these both to 3 minutes so you can see. So, on the normal candlesticks, right, you can see some of this forming, but with the Heikin-Ashi, right, you can see here's a clear trend and you can see it start really getting thinner because it just smooths. So you can more easily see a true reversal. So you can, number one, see it narrowing sooner, but like, oh, you've got a little red here, but on the average, it's still pushing up, right? The volume candles are great also. I like that because you can just see at a glance. Is this Carvana pull back a little bit? Let me see where that sits real quick. Okay. And so here's another thing that I might use is if I look at, for example, the go a little bit wider. So this is where I like to use things like the fib channels, right? So I can look here and I can see like, okay, the support levels. Where is it within that channel, right? So it's in an uptrend. And what do? We came up, right? Came up, up, up. And here it's the Heikin-Ashi candles as well. So I'm not using the wicks, I'm using just the bodies. So even on a short time frame, like seconds candles, I can make use of that. And what do we see here? It comes up, goes past the 161, actually gets up to the 261 here, and just rejects. So it could lose the channel right here. And in fact, there we go. We went right down, came down, and then that's what the 30, 38 and the 23. So if I overlay my normal fib levels, right? And this is actually what you want to see, right? You got a confluence. It's testing a key level here as well. So if I go, let's see, what is the little swing high there, down to the low there. Boom, look at that. That's a 161 of this here. So yeah, I think you could do a short here and, just to stop above this high. I think this is the first point. This is the key thing. This is the first point at which it was pushing up, up, up within the channel. This is the first point it's actually losing that channel potentially. And if you wanted, you could even put your stops, up in here, corresponding to the levels within the channel, which will get you a little better than putting it up at the high, right? But also be aware, it depends on your determination, right? If you put it above here, you might want to do that if you want to stick with it because it can be still within the channel and pushing up. So depends how hedged you are and your conviction of the overall move. But at least knowing where it is within the trend can help quite a bit.
Interesting setup in IOND.
I was just saying, Mitch, Shah doesn't think our sweet and sour combo, we could have some more flavor if we bring another guest on.
Oh, we'll bring it. We'll bring the spice. No hiding on spice. INOD. What do you think about that one, Scott? A nice little setup here, as it's kind of like just did that little fake out to the downside. I would love for it to kind of just pull back just a tiny bit at 910 and then really launch off here. But it's actually not a bad little setup. Interesting volume, bigger volume came in on that kind of attempt breakdown of 9. Let's see if it takes the 950s and goes to 10 here. Just keeping an eye on some of these smaller names. Also CRCT, one that I'm keeping a close eye on. MXCT now showing up. That one looks like it's topping out a little bit there. But this one's, of course, a stock that has been up here in the past. So, like, I look for a lot of times, like, where's the resistance zone? In this stock, anywhere above this 5 to 550 range is resistance. So it could pull back off of that level, start working its way back to 450s. So this is not a bad one to maybe take a look at. Maybe a potential short on this one. If it can come right back now towards like 515, reject there. That'll be the level that I could short off of.
I nod, yeah. We've had a couple of attempts at that, haven't we? So, yeah, that's the one I took earlier down there. So that's the buy side kicking in. Then another buy side where you're saying, yeah, you're just looking at that kicking out. Again, tape coming into that. That's the play on the moving averages with the buy side again. First here, first here. This is our sell side up here. That's the protection for any shorts. But if that busts, then obviously that can see a pop to the upside. But yeah, it's working out at these lows right now. So
yeah, it's interesting. That's kind of this, you know, a lot of times I always find it interesting when I'm looking at a certain level, then Scott tells us that's where the liquidity pool is at, right? And I think that tells us something, right? That's where traders are looking, right? You're not the only one, right? And remember, you're not the only trader looking at these levels. So understanding that is how you can get some edge.
And we got in the middle of those two, look, we've got the VWAP, right? So all those VWAP players is, and again, the VWAP is not something that's just trending in the retail industry. VWAP is itself a benchmark for best execution, let alone the ones that are above and below. Like obviously, sometimes price is above and it comes back down, and VWAP is something that is used as a best execution tool. So that's not just the, you know, a flavor of the month indicator there. That is a decent indicator to be using.
My bros, man.
So REBN. Oh, it's difficult. I'm literally flat now on RVBN. Like completely 3 kind of entries on this. And it's still not flashing, is it? It's still not giving me a flush. I've got 440 down to 372 right, and it's 365 lows. But it's still not flushing. So if I can't work through this level pretty quickly now, I'm going to cover this and just call that a day, because I'm up on the other names that I've had today, and we'll just call that a day on REBN. We'll see what we get in the next few minutes.
These utility names, man, it's not something that's the sexiest, man, but this is what I mean by trends a lot of the time, and I try to point to them, even if I'm not trading it, right? Like I talked about PCG earlier today, how that could maybe go through the 770s, get into the 18s. It's already up to 1788. Daily chart, you can see how it's approaching the highs. The XLU, that utilities trade is just strong. Look at the 5-minute trend from today. Pulls back, gets bought. A lot of times this is doing like hourly pullbacks and then getting bought off the support. So it goes resistance, support, buys. Resistance, support, buy, right? So that's what we've been seeing a lot, at least in this sector. Defensive area also on the radar. So I'm looking to see what happens on names like PG, CL, But definitely I've been seeing a shift there. And earlier today, this was all red, right? All red. Now a lot of green on this, and in the red is real estate and healthcare. Other than that, all in the green.
All right, Wilson's in the green on INOD short as well that we tagged earlier. Yeah, so there was first attempt or second attempt, Wilson. That was a nice little. It was nice to us to do it twice. I like that one as well. NIVF short order at 177. Let's have a look at NIVF. Oh, right. Okay.
More about execution. So cool. Yeah, that's a good. Sorry to hear that, Scott. Scott C. But yeah, definitely, that's a great topic.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, I think it's a perfect time. We've taken a couple seconds here. Let's go ahead and time for you guys to choose the trade. I'm ready to get after it. The question is, what trade am I taking? Throw it up in the chat. What can I get into today? Let's find out, guys. Keep throwing them up in the chat. What are you guys looking at? Long, short? Where are we going after? And maybe it's one of these smaller names. I don't mind it. You guys let me know. INOD, Ruben. We can take a look at some bigger names. I could even go back after NVIDIA. What are you guys thinking out there?
Wilson, you just nailed it. You could have done that like literally 60 seconds earlier. Mitch, NIVF was on. Well done, Wilson. Number 2 for you today, at least.
There you go.
Trader Life looking at Mullen.
The Molinator. In Ruben 416. I see you out there. What do you guys want to see, guys? What trade do you guys want to see? Let me know in the chat. You guys don't give me the trade, I can't take it. I'm looking out there, guys.
Anyway, yeah, Scott, we're gonna be we will be talking a bit later this week as well. We're going through Volkowski's stuff, the patternsite.com. I just really like those resources, but one of the things he has is some good information on the stats and good information when you're looking at one particular pattern, when statistically, if you enter here, the odds are, and you can use that to tune your sizing as well. So that'll be Thursday, I believe 8:30 a.m., 8 or 8:30 on the Discord. So we'll be doing more of those discussions as well, and any resources, if any of you folks can recommend, we can have some longer form discussions, interactive with you guys. So let me know if there's a particular book or video on a topic, especially on that execution topic, because the technical execution stuff, besides what gets talked about here, and these guys are kind of the experts on that. But
no, I love it. And I think it's important to try to look for books to try to keep building your knowledge, right? Maybe it's psychological, maybe it's technical, maybe it's understanding how to read and balance sheets, right? Things like that are very important, team. Keep using those resources. They're so important. I can't tell you how much you have to be learning and continue learning in this journey. It's not just one time and you got it all under your belt. I'll tell you one thing, that's for sure.
And one thing also on the, the topic, I'm not sure what you've gone into on this before on the dark pool topic, but it's one of those areas where I think understanding the market mechanics and playing around with it can really help. Sometimes we'll get that question, right? Especially because the chart the level 2 we're showing has like the NASDAQ feed and everything else, or people look at the charts and say, well, why is there a pop? Like, hey, if you go on, for example, Interactive Brokers or something else that allows directed trading, right? Just have $100 in there, play around with it, do some dark pool trades of your own, right? Or do a directed trade, send it just to NASDAQ and see how it interacts that way. Watch on the tape, like, the things that come through. And I think the more that you just build experience in different areas of the market, I think that kind of sits around in your brain and rattles around, and it's sort of, it's just that comfort level. I think there's nothing really what's that line from the Expanse from Drummer's speech? Like, nothing is foreign to us, right? Like, that's just, I don't know.
Tim, what do you mean
Feels like
by direct it to the dark pool then on the execution? Go on,
So you can select. I know Interactive Brokers has it. Probably others, but they have their own dark pool available. You can send trades to, or you can also do directed trades. So you can put, for example, a limit order, and you can say, "Hey, I only want it executed on this exchange," right? And so depending on whether it's visible or not, and depending how the trade gets routed, you can actually have. Then you'll start seeing those cases where, for example, there might be a fill that's outside where you put it, or similarly, you might be like, hey, I had an order there. Why didn't I get a fill even though a trade happened out in the real world, right? Well, that could be, and you can see that too. If you do a directed trade on NASDAQ, you might see a dark pool trade go by, right? And so that's just them reporting basically private parties trading amongst each other, right? Or you might see someone did a trade where they sent it just to a particular exchange because they get the rebates or what have you,
Mm-hmm.
And you can take advantage of that too, right? And so there's different factors, right? Like there's not the rebates, but you also aren't paying the locate fees on trade the pool, etc. But just having a little experience in that, even if you're just playing around, again, then you kind of start to understand how these things happen. And it's not just knowing the reasons that you can call on and kind of recall that. It's just sort of more naturally having an understanding rather than just a factual list, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know the names of those routes that you've got on IB there that you can select.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of advantages if you start to look out there, and a lot of the times, what's it going to be? Well, you're probably going to have to spend some money, right? This is why I always say you got to pay to play, man. You got to pay to play. This isn't a free game. So I know that you see free executions out there and things like that, but understand what that does, right? I mean, if you are not worried about pennies, then yeah, maybe that's not such a concern to you, right? But if you're trading bigger size, as you get bigger and bigger, right, we worry more and more about the pennies, and that's when it really starts coming into play.
And don't forget too, with those things where it's like, oh, I want to trade on this exchange, I want to trade this stock, or trading things, options, futures. Again, you can take the profits from your trade the pool account and you can put them in your options account. Like I do that. I'll be trading things in parallel, or I'll trade something going into the earnings and trade the pool, and then I'll do an options play overnight for the actual earnings day. Like I have a spread on right now for Robinhood. Which obviously I can't and wouldn't want to do in my trade the pool account with just the underlying. So I'm actually going to look in on Robinhood.
I got you, Tim. So I was wondering why. So the difference between, if you're a pro client on Interactive Brokers, you can get access to that. But if you say, which means you kind of relinquish a lot of the protection that you get as a retail trader. So you can access those pools if you're a pro on Interactive Brokers, right?
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, they have Lite in the US at least. I think they have Lite, which is free, and then Pro gets you more, and I think it has some amount of free data, but Pro,
yeah, I think it's just a cost, Scott. It doesn't necessarily classify you as a professional. It's just a different platform cost. So
as again, right, you pay, and then it used to have a fee monthly. I think they got rid of that, but
direct routing
for all your data,
and you want direct routing, probably gonna have to pay for it.
But they've actually got smart order routing, what we were talking about yesterday, by the sounds of it, on that Pro.
Yeah, and they also, so on that, they have like you can pick, and I used to use all the time like Arca, because on limits you can get some rebates, things like that. So you just have to look into it, guys. Definitely, if you're looking for that. But you can also keep it simple, right? Get your trading correct, get that down packed, and then you can worry about sizing up. Dealing with those dark pools, man, it gets difficult, and you got to also understand what you're kind of paying for, right? Same way we could talk about shorts and borrows, things like that.
I will say too, and then I probably have to go because I feel that sore throat kind of creeping in, and I need to prep for some events later today. But I will say one other thing too, which is just on the strategy and the approach and all these different features, right? Like it's not necessarily as critical as getting your core strategy down, right? Like where things like the width of the spread and your entry and stuff do matter is if you're oversized, right? You know, or if you're too greedy, you mark it in like on an extension, and then you have to make that up to make any money, right? But you know, beyond that, if you have if it's moving enough, right, and Trade the Pool really encourages us to look for those things that have more significant moves, right? If you have something that's going to move enough to make you money and you're sized reasonably that, like, if the spread is going to make a significant difference to you, then guess what? Just the little fluctuations, right, could knock you out. That means you're oversized, right? Take a step down, just take a deep breath, build up, and so there's more advanced things you can do in other markets. If you are doing options and things, you can put limit orders on one side of the spread and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's timing and sizing more than anything else.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I will leave you with that because unfortunately this sore throat is kind of setting in again. I want to preserve my voice for later, but as always, it's a blast.
Hey.
I am above I have a comma in my ARM trade now, and it is still going. Are you on Nvidia still?
No, I am not on Nvidia anymore. So I could go after it again later towards the day.
You might even have another short. If you have a tight enough stop, you might have a short entry here. I don't know. It's kind of testing that.
Yeah, the cues just keep going though. Sometimes like in moments like this where I feel like some people were kind of bearish and probably got caught today. I need to see that bearish trend change, and a lot of that is going to be in what technology names, right? If you look at the cues, there is some names that are really kind of getting a little bit of a lift today. So just looking around to see when that can change, that trend can change, then yeah, maybe we can start looking for it. Qualcomm having a decent day. Remember, everyone was kind of bearish. Tesla coming in today. Well, look at that, back up to 175. So moments like that tells me just to be careful, right? Don't fight the market so much, Mitch. Try to sometimes see earlier. If it would have been that breakdown, it would have been nice. Remember, I talked about this 440 level. Back through there, the bulls start taking control, and I feel like they're in control right now. So I need to see some signs that they're breaking.
And one other thing too. Sorry, I know it's that awkward thing where you say goodbye and you're walking the same direction. But I do see so Target. I mean, and again, by the way, on that, right? Like I didn't capture that completely, but I took a let's see if I have the right thing here. I took a small loss, but that's where having those partial stop losses in place helped me out, because then I only took a $37 loss, and Target is now, there's a potential double bottom. Again, read that book chapter for a discussion on double bottoms on Thursday, but yeah, so I didn't make money, but I didn't lose money significantly either. And guess what that does? That keeps me in this other trade without having to worry. So, but I do see, like, this is what's interesting, right? So SPY and the Qs, right? They're already pushing above their entry. But there's still this big gap that could be filled on the Russell. And now we're seeing like Target, for example, curling up. I didn't look at other retail.
Target's looking good, man.
And now like Amgen, it was potentially flat. It could keep continuing, but it was weakening. So your pharma was weakening a little bit. Pfizer, same thing. And then Colgate. I bet if you look at other consumer defensives, you'd see a pullback there as well. So we could start seeing some reversion there. So it's going to be an interesting day today, I'm pretty sure. And I'm really looking forward to tonight. So we'll probably have some further discussion on the Discord about the outlook on earnings. So anyway, yeah, thanks.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today, Tim. Definitely smash the like for Tim joining us today. Hit that like, guys. All right.
Cheers.
We did touch a little bit on kind of what the dark pool's kind of advantages and disadvantages there. Let's talk a little bit more about that, Scott, before we get out of here today. Let's talk a little bit about the dark pool actions. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the advantages and disadvantages and how you could trade them, actually, right? That's what Tim was bringing in here. He brought a lot of that conversation up. How have you done? You've done this plenty of times, Scott. You use the liquidity pools. You look into this. What are you using there? I know Tim gave a lot of that information.
So where you've got the option to route to a dark pool obviously on a pro account, that's the first kind of retail. Well, I say retail if it's pro, but you know what I mean. If it is just a payment scale, but that's the first time I've known that you can choose to route a retail order, if that's the case, to a dark pool. Nevertheless, generally the broker chooses to route most of its volume through the dark pool. But in terms of how you can have a strategy to trade with it, it is not easy at all. I was just looking at the NQ here right now. In order to get these levels up, and these levels have been sitting here, right? So this liquidity pool up here has been sitting here since, what's that, 240 on the 7th of May, and that is predicted from the speed that was in this tape. It was how fast this move happened to say this is where that pool is going to be, and that is formalized. That's why every time I draw one of these pools, it's not that it's going to work. It's that if you look at time and sales data, which is what I've done, I've had developers look at the time and sales data for areas that I believe dark side pools exist. And I gave them, like, literally looking at it where I think they exist. Then you give them the data of time and sales and say, right, go find it. If it's there, great. If it's not there, then fine. We'll work on something else. But it is there, and you can see it. And it's, what the time and sales looks like. We brought it up. It's not an easy thing to read. Level 2 is not the easiest thing to read. But let's grab a time and sales up again. So time and sales for Tesla. And where I started off with is, like I said, the white orders are in between, which means that, they're filled in the mid between the bid and the ask. So they're generally not retail orders. And you generally find they go through with size as opposed to like our 10s, 50s and 100s. And then you can filter that up. So the first thing I've done was filter it up. So instead of just looking for the 10 Teslas, the 20 Teslas, I'm looking for the 300s, the 500s, the 1000s, and that slows your tape up considerably. So if I want it to be more than 500 shares, my tape's going to slow right up. See that? So I'm seeing the big numbers, but it's slow. Now what I want to look for is take this up a little bit more. So if I take it up to 1,000, I want it to get slower. But now what I want to look for is speed on these ones, because now you're seeing I'm almost filtering out all the red and blues unless they're large retail orders, and I'm making that tape slow up. But then when it now comes alive on the big size orders, then that is what I'm looking for. The other criteria I'm looking for is price has got to kind of stop. I want to see that when I come into this level, I want to see that huge speed on the tape, huge amount of speed on the tape, because they're going to be whites. So I won't know whether they're buys or sells, because dark pools disclose their orders for anonymity. But you basically get twice the volume hit at that area on that particular candle, hence the wick here, for example. And that's the dark pool coming in. Now, you can't tell really what effect that's having at the exact time it's happening. You can only really wait for the candle to close and make an assumption. Oh, okay, so I was anticipating that this buy side was here. It rushed into that buy side on huge speed, and all the orders were above 1,000. And if you add them all up, sometimes you can come to a very nice big round number, and then you go, right, okay, so they've literally just bought 500 million at this price, because the candle turns green immediately after. And it's just a case of being a little bit more patient for that. But to give you an idea, you can see whenever I've drawn these levels going from these swings, there's always one like a macro swing. So this is the macro for this A to B swing. There's a pull there, but each pull, as it pushes up, each swing grabs another pull and creates another pull, and that is formalized. So that's why when you look back at these levels, you're like, geez, yeah, they're actually pretty darn close. But what you can't do is anticipate exactly whether it's going to hold or whether it's going to fail. Like I said, today, right now, as we're looking at it, this one saw a huge amount of green volume coming into this tape. And the speed, if we look on a 1 minute, you'll probably see, you know, we had some smaller bars here, then we had this big rush in. Now I'm sitting here, I've drawn this in, it's been in for days. And when I see that, I'm expecting it. I'm expecting that rush of orders. As far as I'm concerned, that's hidden liquidity at that point. Huge amount of buys, huge amount of sells going into it. And then the sells will now be distributed out of that pool. And I'm going to draw my next one in. And if you're not, you know, the tool is LiquidVision. You can get it at liquidvision.trade for a bit of a plug. But ultimately, you've got to expect it over halfway, but not a double top, if you get me, right? So it's normally over halfway, but not a double top. So if you look at any of these swings back here, just on the market itself, it's going to come up, and then this one's pretty much halfway because of the time it took to get up there. If this was to have run up a lot quicker, i.e. if this trend hadn't have gone kind of, I don't know what, let's say 40 degrees, 45 degrees, if this had run up at like a 70-degree angle or 30-degree angle, I should say, then that buy side pull is going to be much further down. And that's how it works. It's always moving dynamically. As price is moving up, you've got this buy side pull just following you, and the same on the downside. So there's never going to be an ultimate strategy for it unless you're looking at the tape. And the only thing you can do is take your normal support and resistance levels, whichever's working for you. Doesn't matter whether you're using these fair value gaps, support and resistance, demand and supply, whatever you want to call it. The least you could do to identify it is whatever product you're trading, look at the time and sales, increase the size, and then look for the speed. Yeah, because if you decrease the size, all you're going to see is speed non-stop. You're not really going to see the wood through the trees. Yeah, it's just moving constant all the time. Looks like white orders all the time as well here. But as soon as you pop that up and say, just give me 2,000, there you go. There's one at 4,000. That's actually a retail. That's a huge order. But you can see now I've put it up to 2,000. It's going to go really slow. But when this speeds up and you see 2, 3, 5, 10,000 coming in and it's fast, that's when you know you've got to wait for that color candle change. That's really all I can give you on a kind of strategy for it.
All right, Scott taking the time. Like always, guys, smash the like for that explanation there. And that's what it's all about here. We're always trying to give you guys back that value. So definitely smash that up. Let's go ahead. We're going to start doing a little bit of a daily recap and then get you guys out of here. Of course, we got more trading in the week. You guys can keep up with myself and Scott. Like always, you guys see my Twitter handle at MoneyMitch_TTP. Of course, definitely smash the like. Let's get to today's daily recap. All right, pulling up my screen here. Of course, you guys know that I took that NVIDIA trade. Let's actually just pop this out right quick so I can show you this right quick, guys. All right, they're here with the trades for the day. You guys see it. Still up a little bit, right? A little bit of a battle there. Took a small hit on PayPal. Without that small hit, would have been, up big. Took a shot on NVIDIA. Had a big opportunity there to like maybe really kind of expand the winnings on the account. Overall, I am positive on the account. That's a big thing to kind of get over that hurdle, right? I talk about that break even, things like that. I have been battling on this account. I'm up just like 46.80, nothing crazy, but just continuing to battle the day. That's what it's all about today. NVIDIA definitely being the top trade there. We'll see what happens later in the day. This is starting to crack now, so I could maybe come right back after it. Really, the thing that dependent is the Qs. The Qs have been so strong, it's hard for me to go shorting into that, but we'll see what happens there in that action. I'll keep watching different names to see if I can come after a different name. I've also been playing a lot of these kind of later in the afternoon shorts, right? So like right around this time, looking for a stock that's trying to work its way back to resistance. Then it falls back down pretty much to the low end of the range. Taking profits on the low end of the range has been working for me. We'll see if it works again. I had a great week, of course, with Scott. You guys definitely smash the like if you guys been enjoying it. If you're watching this show and for some reason you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? See it down below. Look at that light up. Subscribe right now and hit that like. let everybody know this is a fun show where you guys can really learn about trading. That's what we're here to do. Scott, thank you for joining me like always. You ready to wrap it up, my friend?
Whoa. Yeah, let me give it to you. Right, REBN, I had to fight for this one. I had to fight for REBN,
you did.
Right? It's I don't normally do this. I normally, if it doesn't work and it goes above, I cut out. But I worked this one, so I sold it down here at 306. I sold it up there at 371. Then I said, right, if it's going through that buy side, if it's going through that sell side pool, I don't want any part of it because it's going to 4.5. So I cut it, right? Cut it at a loss, about $30, nothing big. Then it hit the buy, then it hit the sell side. What we've got? Let me just drag this over here quickly on REBN. Right, so then it hit the sell side. So I hit it on the sell side. Now, this is where I could have managed it better because it come down to the buy side liquidity and I covered it. I said I'm break even on all this. I was bigger size at the top than I was at the bottom, so I broke even on that trade on REBN. As it happens, it's all day fading right now below that pool. What can you do? Like I said, I don't know if they're going to hold or not. You just got to wait and see what the price action happens in there. The other trade was Trip, which was a nice trade. I haven't looked at that back actually as to whether I'm. Where's that? Go on, give me Trip.
Trip.
All right, let's trip it over. Let's try it over here and see if we can't get it on.
Tripping.
It's tripping. Ticker does trip a little bit. One more go on Trip.
Oh, it's pulling it off. Just hit the enter. Maybe it'll pull it up. Gave you TR. Tootsie.
Yeah, no, let's do it. If I could do it over here, if I go back from the positions field, it might give me it. I don't want to give it. Let's. I'll show you the chart. Oh, I got it. Oh, no, now it wants to do it. Here we go. Okay, so Trip. Zoom out about this. Obviously, a massive drop in the pre-market. Actually, it wasn't too bad of a fat finger. There was some more left on it and probably is. But yeah, in there off the bottom, off of that buy side liquidity pool, it tapped in there. Soon as I see the color change, that's all I can wait for. I saw that volume coming in. Hit it there at about 1672. Didn't mean to cut out of that then, but I did at 1761. But still a decent, nice trade for that on Trip. And then Inod, the play on Inod was a nice one. How many times could we have had that in the chat? I think people have had it a couple of times. I just took the first one here, which was that high up there at 976, down there to 897. But since Inod has just become a bit of a beast today, it's given you that trade once, twice, 3 times, and then a fourth little one there if you could have missed it. But yeah, always too much to look at and too much to do. But yeah, that's my recap there for today, everybody. Thank you very much.
Definitely hit that subscribe. You guys see us, Scott and I, killing it this week. Not a bad week for us, Scott. We'll keep battling with you guys, like always, learning on execution, trying to continue giving you guys topics. And like always, give us some feedback. What do you want to see more on the show? We'll keep bringing it to you guys. You guys know where you're at. It's Trade the Pool, and we'll see you guys back on Monday.
Peace.